Hello everyone, this is Ronan Blue, just taking my daily walk here in Hua Hin, Bangkok. And today's topic would be on changing your behaviors for your financial future. So changing your behavior when it comes to your finances is really tough. Well, it might be easier for some people to just think up of how to change up their behaviors. So for example, it might be as simple as saying you spend less, but it isn't really as simple as that when it comes to your money spending habits and your behaviors. But the problem sometimes is that even if you feel on the surface you want to change your behavior, sometimes it's very difficult to do so because you yourself know what the problem is on the surface, but there might be something underneath that's even more problematic. So one big issue or behavior that a lot of people have is they actually don't open up their bills. I mean, how terrible is that, right? Because they're afraid of what the credit card bill looks like, or the other kinds of bills that they need to pay, like the utilities. And it's very difficult for them to open up their bills and to figure out how much they actually owe. But of course, there are certain tools that can assist you today, such as automatic payments, right? So you don't have to think about it, and it gets deducted right from your bank account. And another way to fix that behavior is to write it down on a calendar as well. Right on your calendar, you can write down the days that you owe certain bills. That can help you out as well if it does. So you have to overcome that feeling that you have of not opening up that envelope with that ugly bill in it. So there's also the mindset of cash versus the credit card. So if you think about it, which would be a lot easier, paying for things with cash or paying for things with the credit card. So it's much easier to pay for things with the credit card, right? You can easily just go online and pay for things. And you're essentially creating money from thin air and purchasing those things that you're thinking in your mind that could be paid later. But some people, what they do is they stick to just paying by cash. Because by paying by cash, you actually spend about 30% less than compared to a credit card, where in most cases, people spend more if they have a credit card. But another behavior to watch out for is that it's really easy to lose track of all of the purchases that you make, because none of the purchases really stick out, and they just keep being charged on your credit card over and over and over again. And it's almost like a leak in a small tire there, where because you're not really keeping track of those small little purchases, although at the time you think they're small, but the numbers really do add up. And that's one behavior that needs to really be looked at in tracking all of your expenses and the stuff that you purchase. What you could do is you want to be sure that you only use a credit card for really big purchases, right? Like a television or a couch, something that's really trackable. But for those little tiny expenses, you should avoid having to use your credit card and use cash. Because actually being here in Thailand, we've been using cash a lot, and it's easy to track that way, and you don't really spend as much either using cash. It does have some levels of inconvenience, but having that cash and spending, if a particular item is 20 baht, then you just pay 20 baht for it. So that's how convenient it is to use cash in that manner, because in terms of saving anyways, because you're not really spending you're overspending, I guess. If you do have a credit card, you definitely be overspending. Another behavior is that as we buy things, we tend to overvalue the gratification that we get right away, right? The instant gratification for buying and satisfying that emotional state right at that moment is an issue that a lot of us, probably all of us, have whenever we make certain purchases. If you do want to start budgeting, a good way to really start would be to, you know, try and write down the X, Y, and Z's that you wouldn't do, right? And also to, you know, challenge yourself in tracking and all of your expenses and budgeting for at least a 3-month period, right? And within that 3-month period, it'll give you a general idea of the cost that you spend on, especially if you're using an Excel spreadsheet of some sort to track all of your expenses there. Then you can analyze exactly what you're spending on and maybe cut down on certain things that aren't real necessities in your lifestyle. But what you can do also is you know, share those goals maybe with your parents or your friends or your partner, and ask to get some advice from them. And it's going to be very motivating as well to know that you have that support. You know, you're not on your own. But it's highly possible that the behavior might not be of yours. It might be your partner's. You know, it might be your friend who has an issue about budgeting or saving money. But it's always important to talk to your partner about a particular behavior that maybe needs to be looked at, and looking and planning out how the future in the long term may look like for the both of you if you were to follow a certain philosophy in budgeting and saving money. But I also have some other vlogs that show certain budgeting techniques that you might be interested in knowing of as well. But I also have another vlog, 101 ways to save money. It took me a while to make, but it's fun to watch actually, to see whether or not you would apply some of those points that I mentioned. But budgeting is a lot of fun too, you know. It becomes somewhat of a game to be able to save, you know, an extra $1 a month, let's say. Especially if you don't make a substantial, just crossing the railroad tracks here. But especially if you do not have a large income. You know, you want to see whether or not you can save the extra $1 every month. It actually becomes a game, and it's actually a lot of fun to do so. Because actually being here in Thailand, I see the Thais and they're happy. You know, they're always smiling. It's called the land of smiles, right? And the thing is, you look at them and they don't really have much materialism at all. And you wonder to yourself, why the heck are they so happy? You know? Like, what makes us think that having a lot of materialism would make us happy, when in fact it isn't what should make you happy. As long as you have the basic necessities of life covered, you know, the rest is sort of like you know, finding pleasure and hanging out with your family or with your friends, or just overall enjoying life as it comes to you. You know, no pressures, none of that competition that you feel when somebody else has a BMW or something like that. And you just put that all aside, and once you do budget and you get used to it, then you start not really caring about all of that stuff anyways. So it's a real relief having to you know, look at the overall benefits you would get in the longer term if you just simply budget and, you know, have your goals of slowly growing yourself over the months for your financial future there. Well, tell me what you think of budgeting in the comment section below. If you like this vlog, please don't forget to give me a like, subscribe if you haven't already, and hit that notification bell for more of my coming content here. Thank you for watching my vlog. Be free, gain wealth, and travel far.